Brian here from Racer X Garage. This is going to be the first video in a series that we're going to call In-Depth Tech. And we're going to show a little bit more detail on some of the stuff that we're working on our regular Racer X Garage videos, but more in depth so you can see details, and perhaps if you're working on the same thing and you have questions, you can refer to these videos to get a little bit more answers. For example, today we're going to work on my Muncie M20 4-speed transmission and a Hurst super competition shifter. And we're going to go into a little bit more detail on how we set that up, and how we adjusted the shift rods, and also kind of some differences and reasons as to why it was not working. So you're going to see a little bit more images of like part numbers and details as far as how things mount and get adjusted in this video than you are in episode 3 of Racer X Garage. So hopefully it's somewhat beneficial to anybody out there working on their transmission or their shifter. And you'll see more of these videos when we record something that gets a little bit more in depth than we need on the regular channel. This is my Muncie M20 4-speed transmission. I just found out it was an M20 recently, actually when I pulled it out, because it has 2 ring grooves on the input shaft. I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's 1 and 2. The vise might be in the way. I had to pull out for a couple things. The first thing was I did not know how many splines were on this transmission, because this is not the original transmission in the car. But it has 10 splines, and I needed to know that so I could order the correct clutch for it. So I'm going to get a clutch on the way. The second reason I pulled it out is because when I bought the car, it had a different shifter on it. It had a drag racing specific shifter called a Hurst super shifter. And the problem with that is the Hurst super shifter mounts about 4 inches higher than it is right now. So this bolt would be about right here. The problem with that is my Nova has a factory 4-speed tunnel, and in order to get that shifter to work, they had to kind of cut the tunnel up and bend it back. So it looked terrible in the car. It was dangerous. It could cut you. So I ordered the correct shifter for it, but I ordered the incorrect install kit. So because I ordered the incorrect install kit, what I found out is these levers that are on the transmission itself that move with the shifter, they come in different ways to mount them. They either have a bolt, like you see here, that goes into the casing, or they have a stud that has a nut that holds it on. The problem with that is this area that holds where you bolt it into the shifter case has this opening right here. This opening is different sizes based on how it bolts to the transmission. So what I had to do was reuse the Hurst super shifter levers with this transmission to get it to work for now. So I was able to find the correct shifter arms on eBay, actually, that are meant for the bolt-in style. So I'm going to swap those out. I want you guys to notice the difference in the lengths of these levers. They are at least ½ an inch shorter than the Hurst super shifter levers. Because of the length of the shifter levers, my first and second and my third and fourth shifts are very long throws. That is because the pivot point here is so much higher and takes so much more distance to move. And I'll kind of explain that, and we're going to look at it after I replace the levers. I'm going to put it in first gear. I'm going to try to do my best to hold the shifter while I put it into second gear. This is going to be tough. Alright, I'm going to measure this real quick. Okay guys, I went ahead and measured the throw of the transmission from the front of the knob to the rear of the knob, from first gear to second gear. And if you look right there, we're looking at about 9.5 inches. So let me throw the levers on, and then we're going to measure again. Okay, so while I replace these levers, that means I'm going to have to readjust my whole shifter setup. So I'm going to kind of go through that with everybody and show you how we replace the levers and then how we're going to adjust everything. So these levers have an adjustment point down here, and they mount directly to the arm here. And the way they mount is just by using this clip. Let's see if I can get it out. So there's a clip that holds it on, and then there's a bushing that also holds it on the one side. So that bushing makes sure it aligns well in the hole itself, so there's no movement. So we're going to pull those clips out. Of course, I'm going to drop one or two, right? Make sure we don't lose our bushings. And then what's important to know is which direction things are facing for one. So I don't want to make sure the ends are facing the wrong way. And then we also want to make sure that our arms are facing up. If they're facing down, your shifter pattern is going to be backwards. I found that out the hard way. So I'm going to pull these off real quick. And they come off really easy. There's a number that's on the top of these levers, and that number is important because if you look at the manual, and I'll just play that down here, it tells us what number goes to which gears. So this is 7129. And for this install kit, this is the first and second gear, which is actually the second mounting point on the transmission. So I'll put that on so we don't lose it. And then we'll pull the front one off and do the same thing. This is actually your 3/4. The number for this one, for a 68 Nova 4-speed with a transmission tunnel, the factory tunnel, is 7130. I'm going to put this right here and put my bolt back in it. Right. The reverse one actually does point down. So make sure you take reference of that if you're changing out your shifter on how these goes. Your assembly manual should tell you which way they're supposed to go. Alright. Let me get these tight. Put this one to neutral so you can take the front one. Alright. There's a kick angle in these brackets, and I've got them both backwards. So I'm going to go ahead and turn those around. Let me show you what I was talking about. If you look here, you can see that the first to second shift gear lever has a kick. And for this particular transmission and setup, that kick for first and second is supposed to face the transmission. And if you look here for 3 and 4, that kick is actually supposed to go out. The reverse matters if you're running the reverse light. That usually bolts to this little piece right here. I don't have the reverse light, so I'm just gonna go with what I got. Okay, so now we're gonna get to the part where we have to adjust the shifter. So when you buy a brand new shifter, it actually comes with a nylon tool that looks exactly like an Allen wrench, except it's white and nylon. If you look in the shifter, there's a notch right down here. That notch is important because what happens is you take your tool, or this happens to be an Allen wrench, and you adjust those shift levers until they all line up and fit in well, which is hard to do with one hand, but I'm going to make it happen. Now I've got 2 of them. Now I need the reversed in. And you can see that now all 3 levers are locked in because of that Allen wrenches sitting there in place. And there's actually another small tab back up in there, if you can see it, that will definitely lock them all in place so there's no more movement. Once we got that Allen wrench to make sure the shifter doesn't move anymore, we got to make sure our shifter levers are in neutral. So this is the 3rd, 4th shifter lever. I just pushed it forward and it's locked in one of the gears. So I'm going to pull it back 1 and it's in neutral. We can check that by going back 1. So it's in between the 2 gears. Same thing for 1st and 2nd. I'm going to push it forward. I'm going to come back. I'm going to pull back. Yep, it's in neutral. For reverse, in order for it to be in reverse, it actually comes down and it's not moving for me. So I'm just going to leave it as is. From there, what we're going to do is we're going to adjust these rods, and we're actually just going to spin them either in or out until it lines up with that hole very easily. So again, I'm just going to spin it again. We're still not there. Maybe 1, maybe 2 more times. And we're getting closer, but you see we're still kind of scraping the edge there. So I'm going to go another time and check. That looks pretty good. I'm going to go 1 more time and see where we're at. I think that's very centered there, so I'm going to go with that for this one. Now you can do this in the car and you might get away with being able to rotate the levers without removing them from these arms on the shifter itself. But they connect the exact same way they do over there with a bushing and a clip. But I'm going to try to just rotate these until they all line up. Alright, so to avoid pulling this clip off and pulling the bushing out and then rotating this piece right here where you can see the rod threads into, I've kind of cheated here and I've pulled the transmission tail shaft off the bench a little bit so I can pull the lever down and make some turns and then test again. So I've noticed a problem. So I'm able to rotate this arm by pulling it down and rotating it, but I'm not going to be able to get it into this hole in the trans unless I pull the shifter arm off. So I think I'm close. So I'm going to pull this arm off and put it through and double check. Alright, so I got it, got the bolt out so I can do this adjustment, and you can see that it's still facing a little bit too far forward. So I'm going to pull it off. I'm going to make 2 rotations. So now I'm much more happy with the pin alignment within that center hole. So I'm going to go with that. So I'm going to put the bushing on and pull it back through and then tighten it all down. Okay, so you can see that the bushing is right here on the arm. I'm going to put this on first and then I'm going to bolt it down. Throw this nut with this bolt in it and then we'll tighten it all down. Alright, now that it's on there, I'm going to throw this clip in here. So all it does is this straight edge goes into the hole there, and this holds it on the other side. Just push it down. Oop, I got it backwards. There is a curvature, and that curvature needs to be where the flat end is against the shifter lever. Alright, so push it down and on, and it's in. And to do the front, same method. Bushing on the arm into the hole, flat side against, straight edge into the hole on the arm and down in. Let me give you guys a real close up of that so you can kind of see, get the idea behind it. All right. Okay, so now I've got everything bolted up and on. I got all the clips in, I've got the bushings and everything. So I'm going to pull the Allen wrench out now. It should come out fairly easily, or your nylon tool that Hurst gives you. And I'm just going to kind of run through the gears. It's kind of hard to do one person, but I got to hold the trans. That's first gear. Second gear, I'm feeling really good engagement in the gears with feedback on the lever. Third gear and fourth gear. I can't touch reverse by myself. Someone really has to hold the trans. You got to crank on that thing to get it over. So first, second, third, and fourth are done. There may be tweaking you need to do, so you might have to pull the levers off to make sure that they're actually engaging in gear. What I mean by that is you put it in first gear, pull the clip off, push the lever back a little bit, and make sure there's no more movement in here. I actually just did that. It was just too hard to do and film at the same time. Everything looks good, so I'm confident with this. So let's get a measurement on how long that throw is now. So I'm gonna put it in first gear and see what we got. Okay, so here's the results. The straight lines here are from when I measured the super shifter levers. The cross hash line are from the Competition Plus levers, which are the correct levers. The super shifter lever, if you remember, measured out to 9 1/2 inches. This lever, the correct levers for the Competition Plus shifters, actually measures out to about 8 1/8 inches. So there's about almost 1.5 inches. It's 1 3/8 inch difference between the two. So that's a pretty significant difference, and enough that it was causing me problems by not staying in gear. So I'm really happy with this result, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so the trans is ready to go in. I just adjusted these shift stops that prevent the shifter from going too far when you get into gear. What I did is I just made sure that either way, front or back, it allows it to go into gear, but then again doesn't allow it to overextend. So that's it for today. I'm going to go ahead and get a clutch ordered. So the next episode, hopefully we'll be able to put the clutch in the car and take it to the track. I'm going to see if we pick up any with a good clutch that will hold the power and a shifter that will work correctly and actually stay in gear. So once again, thank you for taking your time out to watch our little videos here. Hopefully you learned something. If not, hopefully you're a little bit entertained. And if you are, give us a subscribe. Maybe give us a thumbs up too on our videos. Also, check us out on the Racer X Garage on Instagram. I'm hoping to have that platform updated a whole lot more. So until next time, y'all be good.